The story, a shot in the dark, Philip Slatherby travelled by train towards Brill Manor. His intention of travelling was to get a seat in the Parliament re-election. He relied on one lady named Salpen Jago, an influential lady. Okay. And his companion on the train introduced himself as Bertie. The young man was about 22. He was second son of Salpen Jago. He was searching for something frantically, but he could not find the thing he sought. He had left his purse behind after sealing an envelope with a crest on the purse. Often he cursed himself. Okay, so this is what has happened so far, and he left his purse behind with a crest. In order to seal a letter, he took the purse out and he left the purse in house, and he needs money to spend the weekend, and he is lending, he is asking the help of Philip Slatherby, who knows Mrs. Salpen Jago. What Philip Slatherby is going to do here? That's the story. I think I can manage that, said Slatherby after a moment's hesitation. So he thought for a while, Philip Slatherby thought for a while and said that he could give that 3 quits. Thanks awfully. It's a jolly good of you. What a lucky thing for me that I should have chanced across one of my mater's friends. It will be a lesson to me not to leave my exchequer lying about anywhere when it ought to be in my pocket. I suppose the moral of the whole thing is don't try and convert things to purposes for which they weren't intended. Still, when a sovereign purse has your crest on it, exchequer means a national treasury. And he thanked, Bertie thanked Philip Slatherby, who offered to help him, and he learnt a lesson from that incident. He said the purse had a crest, okay, a kind of seal in it, but it is not intended to seal the letter. Instead of taking the crest from somewhere, Bertie used the crest which is in the purse, sovereign purse. That is why he left the purse on the table. So he learnt a lesson, right? What's the lesson? It will be a lesson to me not to leave my exchequer, a treasury. Okay, treasury means the purse here, lying about anywhere when it is ought to be in my pocket. I suppose the moral of the whole thing is don't try and convert things to purposes for which they weren't intended. Okay, you should not convert things as you like. Still, when a sovereign purse has your crest on it. Okay, do you understand? What is your crest, by the way? Slatherby asked carelessly. So carelessly, Philip Slatherby asked the question, what is your crest? Not a very common one, said the youth, a demi-lion holding a cross-slet in its paw. So Bertie answered that it's a demi-lion holding a cross-slet in its paw. And Philip Slatherby added that when your mother wrote to me giving me a list of trains, she had, if I remember rightly, a Greyhound Courant on her note paper. Observed Slatherby. There was a tinge of coldness in his voice. Do you understand? And Philip Slatherby wanted to confirm things. He said, I will help you. After saying that, he wanted to confirm things. That is why he asked the question, what's your crest? Crest means a symbol. Every family has got a symbol, right? So this Bertie said to him that it was a demi-lion. But Philip Slatherby states that when he received a letter from Mrs. Salpen Jago, there was a crest in it, and that crest was a Greyhound Courant, right? So that's a Jago crest, responded the youth promptly. Immediately, Bertie said that that crest was the Jago's crest. The demi-lion is a Salpen crest. We have the right to use both, but I always use the demi-lion because after all, we are really Salpens. So Bertie says that they have the right to use both the crest, both the demi-lion's crest and also the Salpen crest. There was a silence for a moment or two, and the young man began to collect his fishing tackle and the other belongings from the rack. So Bertie, is going to get down. So he collected all his fishing tackle, equipments required for fishing, and other belongings from the rack. My station is the next one, he announced. So he announced that his station is the next one. I've never met your mother, said Sladabai suddenly, though we have corresponded several times. My introduction to her was through political friends. Does she resemble you at all in feature? I should rather like to be able to pick her out if she happened to be on the platform to meet me. So Philip Sladabai wants to make more confirmation on this, and he pretends that he never met Mrs. Alpenjago, and he asks Bertie how she looks like. Okay, do you understand? So he says that I never met your mother, said Sladabai suddenly, though we have corresponded several times, though we communicated several times. My introduction to her was through political friends. Does she resemble you at all in feature? I should rather like to be able to pick her out if she happened to be on the platform to meet me. I want to know how she looks because I never met Mrs. Alpenjago, says Philip Sladabai to Bertie. She's supposed to be like me. She has the same dark brown hair and color. It runs in her family. I say this is where I get out. Goodbye, said Sladabai. And he added that and she had same dark brown hair, says Bertie to Philip Sladabai, and all her family members have the same color of dark hair. And he says that this is where I should get out. Philip Sladabai said goodbye. You have forgotten the 3 quid, said the young man, opening the carriage door and pitching his suitcase onto the platform. So after keeping down all the things from the train onto the platform, Bertie asked for the 3 quids which Philip Sladabai assured to give him, assured to help him before. I have no intention of lending you 3 pounds or 3 shillings, said Sladabai severely. So he became very angry. Philip Sladabai was very angry and said that he had no intention to lend not 3 pounds, even 3 shillings. But you said, says Bertie. I know I did. My suspicions hadn't roused then, though I hadn't necessarily swallowed your story. The discrepancy about the crest put me on my guard, notwithstanding the really brilliant way in which you accounted for it. Then I laid a trap for you. I told you that I had never met Mrs. Alpenjago. As a matter of fact, I met her at lunch on Monday last. She is a pronounced blonde. So Philip Sladabai says that I know you are lying. The truth is the differences in the crest. You said you have the right to use both the crest, both the Demi-Lion's crest and also the Greyhound crest. There my doubt arose. Okay, so I laid a trap for you. I wanted to know the truth, who you are and all those things. I told you that I had never met Mrs. Alpenjago, and that was a trap I laid for you. I said, actually, Philip Sladabai met Mrs. Alpenjago in a luncheon party, but he pretended to Bertie that he never met Mrs. Alpenjago, and he said that Philip Sladabai said to Bertie that he is a pronounced blonde, and they are talking about the color of the hair. Bertie told that all the family members runs dark color hair, but Philip Sladabai says that he saw Mrs. Alpenjago with blonde color hair. Okay. The train moved on, leaving the distant cadet of the Alpenjago family cursing furiously on the platform. So the train moved, leaving the distant, self-styled cadet of the Alpenjago family cursing furiously on the platform. He is cursing in the platform. Okay. Well, he hasn't opened his fishing expedition by catching a flat, chuckled Sladabai. He would have an entertaining story to recount at dinner that evening, and his clever little trap would earn him applause as a man of resource and astuteness. He was still telling his adventure in imagination to an attentive audience of dinner guests when the train drew up at his destination. On the platform, he was greeted sedately by a tall footman, noisily by cloddy people, Casey, who had apparently travelled down by the same train. Explanation of this paragraph. According to Philip Sladabai, Bertie wanted to cheat him, but somehow he escaped because of his cleverness. His astuteness means cleverness. And he was imagining that he had a beautiful story to tell to the dinner guest how he escaped from Bertie. who wanted to cheat him. Because of his cleverness, as Philip Leatherby is clever, he escaped from Bertie. So this is a beautiful story he wants to tell to the dinner guest. While he was imagining this, the train reached the platform. On the platform, he was greeted sedately in a dignified manner by a tall footman and noisily by cloddy people Casey, who had apparently travelled down by the same train. Cloddy people Casey also travelled by the same train, and he was greeted by Philip Leatherby was greeted by this cloddy people Casey. Hello, Leatherby. You spending the weekend at Brill? Good, excellent. We'll have a round of golf together tomorrow. I'll give you a revenge for Hoylake. Not a bad course here. As inland courses go, here we are. Here's a car waiting for us, and very nice too. Cloddy people Casey welcomed Philip Leatherby and added that he's going to have an excellent time at Brill Manor. They already played golf together, and he invited Cloddy people Casey invited Philip Leatherby to play golf the next day morning so that he can give his revenge back for Hoylake. They already played golf. Cloddy people Casey was defeated by Philip Leatherby. This time, Cloddy people Casey wants to win the golf, and they discussed about the golf court. A car was waiting, and it was an excellent car, right? Shall we move on to the next paragraph? The car which won the Casey's approval was a sumptuous looking vehicle which seemed to embody the last word in elegance, comfort, locomotive power. Its graceful lines and symmetrical design masked the fact that it was an enormous wheeled structure combining the features of a hotel lounge and an engine room. So this is a description of the car, how the car looked like. It was a grand car, and which won the Casey's approval, was sumptuous looking vehicle which seemed to embody the last word in elegance. It was so elegant, comfort and the locomotive power. They are talking about the power of the car, its graceful lines and symmetrical designs mask the fact that it was an enormous wheeled structure. They are describing a car here. The car was there to pick up Philip Leatherby to Mrs. Alpen Jago's residence, combining features of a hotel lounge. It looked like a hotel lounge inside and an engine room. Okay, this is a description of the car which was there to pick up Philip Leatherby. Next paragraph, different sort of vehicle to the post chaise in which our grandfathers used to travel, exclaimed the lawyer appreciatively, and for Leatherby's benefit, he began running over the chief points of perfection in the fitting and mechanism of the car. So different sort of car to the post chaise in which our grandfathers used to travel. So they started talking about the car where the grandfather used to travel, and Cloddy people Casey was a lawyer, and he exclaimed appreciatively. He was appreciating the car, and for Leatherby's benefit, he began running over the chief points of perfection, and he talked about the perfection and fitting and mechanism of the car. Leatherby heard not a single word, noted not one of the details that were being expounded to him. His eyes were fixed on the door panel on which were displayed two crests, a greyhound courant and a demi-lion holding in its paw a crosslet. Leatherby didn't heard a single word. Why? He was observing something. He was shocked to see something. What did he see? He saw two crests on the door panel. One was a greyhound courant and a demi-lion holding its paw on a crosslet. So after seeing this, Philip Leatherby was shocked because what the man said was right. They had the right to use both the crest, both a demi-lion's crest and also the greyhound courant crest. The Casey was not the sort of man to notice an absorbed silence on the part of a companion. He had been silent himself for nearly an hour in the train, and his tongue was making up for the lost time. Political gossip, personal anecdote, and general observation flowed from him in an uninterrupted stream as the car sped along the country roads. From the inner history of Dublin labour troubles and the private life of the Prince Designate of Albania, he progressed with an ease and volubility to an account of an alleged happening at the ninth hole at Sandwich, and a verbatim report of a remark made by Duchess of Patshire at a tango tea. Just as the car turned in at the Brill entrance gate, the Casey captured Slatherby's attention by switching his remarks to the personality of their hostess. Cloudy People Casey was not the sort of man to notice an absorbed silence on the part of a companion. Companion here refers to Philip Slatherby. Philip Slatherby was shocked to see those two crests on the car, and he was so silent. He was shocked, but Casey didn't notice that, and he kept on talking. He had been silent himself for nearly an hour in the train. Here refers to Cloudy People Casey, and he travelled in the same train where Philip Slatherby travelled, and he had been silent himself for nearly an hour in the train, and his tongue was making up for the last time. So he wanted to talk. After travelling in the train for nearly an hour, he wanted to talk, right? He started talking. Political gossip, personal anecdote, and general observation flowed from him in an uninterrupted stream. He was kept on talking. As an uninterrupted stream, as a car sped along the country roads. The car was moving fast in the country roads, and he kept on talking. But Philip Slatherby was silent. And he continued from the inner history of the Dublin labour trouble and the private life of Prince Designate of Albania. Is progressed with an easy volubility. Volubility means a fluency to an account of alleged happening at the ninth hole at Sandwich, and a verbatim report of a remark made by Duchess of Patshire at a tango tea. So Cloudy People Casey, kept on talking about things from A to Z, right? All the things he is talking about. He is talking about the king, and he is talking about some alleged happening at the ninth hole, and all those things he was continuously and fluently talking. And on the other side, Philip Slatherby was very, very silent. Just as the car turned in at the Brill entrance gate, so the car reached Brill Manor. The car entered into Brill entrance gate. The Casey captured Slatherby's attention by switching his remarks to the personality of their hostess. When the car reached Brill Manor, Cloudy People Casey started talking about Mrs. Salpenjago's personality. Brilliant woman, level-headed, a clear thinker, knows exactly when to take up an individual or a cause, exactly when to let him or to drop. Influential woman, but spoils herself and her chances by being too restless. No repose, good appearance too, till she made that idiotic change. Change? Queried Slatherby. What change? What change? You don't mean to say? Oh, of course, you have only known her just lately. She used to have beautiful dark brown hair, which went very well with her fresh complexion. Then one day, about 5 weeks ago, she electrified everybody by appearing as a brilliant blonde, quite ruined her looks. Here we are. I say, what's the matter with you? You look rather ill. So with that, the story ends. See, what is happening here? Cloudy People Casey started talking about Mrs. Salpenjago's appearance, that is personality. And he said that she was a brilliant woman and level-headed, and she was a clear thinker. She knows exactly when to take up an individual. She knows exactly. So these are the appreciation. These are the words given by Cloudy People Casey on Mrs. Salpenjago, and he is talking to Philip Slatherby. She knows exactly when to take up an individual or a cause, exactly when to let him or to drop. And he added that she was an influential woman, and she spoiled herself and her chances being too restless. She was too restless. No repose, good appearance too, till she made that idiotic change. She was so good in appearance till she made that idiotic change. Okay? She made a change in her appearance. And Claudie People-Casey calls that as an idiotic change. Change, queried Slutherby, what change? Philip Slutherby asked Claudie People-Casey, he said, change, what change? What change? You don't mean to say, Of course, you have only known her just lately. Again he asked, what change? And Claudie People-Casey started talking. Yes, Philip Slutherby, you've only known Mrs. Alpenjago lately. Very late, you know, right? She used to have beautiful brown hair which went very well with her flushed complexion. She used to have a beautiful dark brown hair which went very well with her fresh complexion. Then one day, about 5 weeks ago, so Claudie People-Casey says that before 5 weeks, she shocked everybody by appearing as a brilliant blonde. She naturally had brown color hair and she shocked everybody by appearing in blonde. Blonde is pale yellow color, quite ruined her looks. According to Claudie People-Casey, that ruined her looks. Here we are. I say, what's the matter with you? You look rather ill. And Philip Slutherby couldn't speak a single word. He was shocked. He was dumbstruck. From this we can understand that Philip Slutherby considered himself very smart and he had mistaken the genuine request of Bertie. With this the story ends. If you have any doubts, contact me. Thank you.